Hey, Dave DeBow here. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about, is it a good time to buy investment property? A lot of people have this question on the mind with everything that's going on in the news and with the economy. Is now the time to invest in real estate? Okay, so on today's video, we're going to take a look at when is the right time to buy investment property, looking at different strategies, looking at the market that you're focusing on, looking at what your long-term goals are. Let's dive in. Okay, as to when is a good time to buy real estate as an investment, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, that was the best time to buy real estate as an investment. And the second best time is now. Okay, so really it depends on what you are going to be doing with the property. That's the big picture. That's the big question that you have to ask. And you have to take Warren Buffett's advice. Warren Buffett says, when it comes to an investment, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. So that kind of takes us to the next step is, where are we right now in the real estate cycle? So every real estate market has a predictable kind of a cycle. Things the last few years have been a little bit weird, but traditionally, this is how the real estate cycle goes. We've got expansion, when people are starting to get excited about real estate. They're buying, they're building, they're doing more stuff. And that goes all the way up here, and then it peaks. And we get a hyper supply of properties on the market. And then things go down. The market falls, all right? And we go into a recession. And this, depending on what your thoughts are, maybe we're in that right now. That's what the news says a lot, that's for sure. That's not necessarily what the numbers are showing, but that's what the news says. And then after you're in the recession for a while, and the time frame can vary greatly depending on where you're located, you start getting into the recovery and then back into the expansion. And things kind of go along those lines over time. Now, the good news is it's not a straight line like that. Typically, the line is going up. So if you look at this over time, if you just take a look back at how much did properties cost 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, how much the same property cost today, you'll see that in spite of this cycle, the value of properties tends to go up over time. So real estate investing, when is the right time to invest? It really depends on you and what your strategy is. All right, so now let's take a look at strategies. And basically, I'm going to break it down into two types: short-term strategies and long-term strategies. So what are short-term strategies? Well, a flip is a short-term strategy. You're buying the property, you're trying to get it at a smoking deal, you're going to fix it up, and then you're going to sell it to a consumer, an end buyer. So again, a very short-term type of a project. People are usually in and out of flips, or they try to be within 3 to 6 months. But the challenge with this is it is very, very market dependent. If you start your flip up here and then the market starts to go down, then you can be in big trouble, because perhaps you're buying at the peak, you're not able to get a smoking deal on it, and then you do all the fix up and the repairs on it, and then you try to sell it, but it's worth the same as what you paid for it originally or less, then you're in trouble. Some other short-term strategies include rent to own. That's a strategy that I did back in the day. Works really well in an upwardly mobile market, in a market that's going up. But if things go flat or if they stagnate, again, the value of the property, the made profit center in those kind of deals is appreciation. So if the market doesn't go up to where you need it to be, you're not going to be making money. So it's these short-term strategies tend to be kind of speculative. Other kinds of short-term strategies include pre-construction condos. A lot of people have made a lot of money with pre-construction condos. They get in on the ground floor, a big, beautiful new condo tower is getting built. They're able to get in with a fairly small deposit. They've got a fixed price they're going to buy it at 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road when the condo's finished being built. And quite often what people try to do is they flip those contracts when the property is ready for a nice chunk of cash. So they have to come in with very little money, and then they're able to sell that contract for a big profit. Well, that's great, again, if the market's going up. But if the market starts to go down, then you can be in big trouble. In fact, I was just reading about a situation right now where a bunch of people bought these pre-construction condo deals, and it turns out that the value of the condo is going to be significantly lower than what they agreed to pay the developer. So a lot of these people are planning to just walk away from their deposit. Well, guess what? The developer's not going to let them get away with that. The developer is going to take back the property, and then they're going to sell it for whatever they can sell it for, and then they're going to sue the original people for the difference. They're going to sue those folks that walked away for the difference between what they were able to sell it for and what those people agreed to contractually purchase those properties for. So again, speculative, it can work really, really well as long as the market's going up. Goes flat, goes down, you can be in big trouble. Another example of this, a kind of short-term type deals, are development deals. So this is where you're building something from the ground up, like the condo example, but this could be on a smaller scale, where perhaps you're doing the build yourself. You're building a single-family home or a small multifamily type property, and you get caught, and you're not able to rent it out or to sell it for the price that you determined in the first place. So again, these are all short-term type things, and they're very, very cyclically dependent. It really depends on where you're at in the market and where the market's going to be going. Now let's take a look at long-term strategies. And long-term strategies are buy and hold type properties. So you buy the property and you hold on to it for the long term. You're not 100% dependent on the value of that property going up over time necessarily, or at least not in the short term, to make your money. You're making your money all sorts of different ways. You're making your money hopefully with cash flow. You're making your money with mortgage pay down over time. You're making your money perhaps with forced appreciation. You're forcing up the value. You're doing renovations or repairs, or if it's a multifamily property, you're bringing up the value of the property somehow. You're doing all of these different things, and you're seeing all of the 8 different profit centers and a long-term buy and hold deal. Market appreciation is just one of those. So the nice thing with those long-term buy and holds are, it doesn't really matter too much when you buy the property if you're planning to sell it or hold on to it for the next 10, 15, 20 years. Because even if it's today and you buy it at the peak and you pay top market price for it, and the price goes down temporarily, it's going to go back up over time. You just have to have the wherewithal to understand that, to explain that to your investor partners, and to hold on for the long term. So it doesn't work if you're trying to sell that property the day after tomorrow, but if your goal is to hold on to this property for the next decade or 2 decades, then you can really start timing the market for when you're planning to exit it, because you're not stuck with one specific time. Does that make sense? So a lot of when is the right time to buy a property depends on whether you're focusing on a short-term strategy or a long-term strategy. Now, the last thing we're going to take a look at today as to whether or not it's a good time to buy a property or not is location. All right? You've always heard this. The secret to real estate investing is location, location, location. Well, yeah, no, yes, it is important, that's for sure. And when you're looking at location, there's a couple of things to look at. The first thing is the big picture, the macro picture of things. So what's going on in the area that you're going to be buying with the economy in general, what's happening with the economy in general, but more importantly, what's happening on that local level for that city or that area. So what is the immigration or the in-migration? How many people are coming into that area versus leaving that area? If you got a lot more people coming into the area than leaving, then that's a good situation. There's always going to be some demand for housing, going to be demand for rentals. So that's a good thing to look for. Employment. If in that area you have a lot of big employers providing good jobs, high-paying jobs, and employment is growing, you got a lot of companies coming into the area, that is great news. Because again, that's going to feed on itself. That's going to create more in-migration. People are going to be coming into that area for those good jobs. So look at the employment situation. And then look at what's going on in the area for infrastructure. What is the local government investing back into the community for transit, for public transportation, for amenities, to just increase the quality of life of the inhabitants of that area. So that's kind of the macroeconomic level. And then on the micro side of things for location, what I mean there is neighborhood by neighborhood, or even more specifically, street by street, because each community has its good parts and its not so good parts. In fact, it might have its good parts and its hoods. So you got to be very, very careful. You can be investing in an area where one street is a good investment, a good place to buy investment properties, and the next street is terrible because it's overrun with crime, delinquency, homelessness, vagrancy, etc. So you have to actually know street by street, area by area, what are the good areas to invest in, what are the areas to avoid. Bottom line is, it's always a good time to buy investment properties if you know what you're doing. That's the key. You need to know what you're doing. You need to pick a particular strategy and really focus on that and understand how it fits into what's going on with everything we just talked about. Get educated about what you want to do. If you're not really up to speed on it, take courses, read books, attend webinars, listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos like this. More importantly, actually invest in yourself, buy some courses, invest in coaching, investing in mentoring. That's going to save you big money over the long term. And it's going to make you a ton of money as well. Another tip is hang out with other folks who are doing what you want to do. Attend your local real estate investment association or your real estate investment club. Hang out with other folks that are actively doing what you want to do or what you're doing right now. See what they're up to, see how it's working for them. Learn from the folks who are in the trenches doing this stuff day in, day out. And once you get going with real estate investing, the next thing you want to take a look at is how do you scale? How do you actually buy more properties? And the easiest, fastest, best way to do that is other people's money. You want to bring on joint venture partners or investors. If you're looking to do that, here's a big tip for you. Focus on people that you have a pre-existing relationship with first before you go out trying to network and find investors. Chances are right within your current sphere of influence, your current network, your friends, your family members, your coworkers, business associates, people you know from church or civic organizations or sporting groups, chances are within that group of people, there are $1 million to $2 million worth of capital available to you. We just have to figure out who's got it and how to access it. So if you want to find out more about how to do that, I've got a book for you. It's called The Money Partner Formula. It shows you my formula for attracting investors and joint venture partners, raising all the capital you want to do all the deals you want to do. You can click on the link that's in the description below or go to investorattractionbook.com.